Good morning, and thank you for having me, and thank you for organizing this terrific event. I don't want to suggest at all that I am working with the government of New York, but certainly I'm in step with what you're suggesting we all need to do, and actually that is part and parcel of my discussion today. For those of you that I have not had the pleasure to meet, my name is Geoff Whaling. I am a Canadian. I now live here in Pennsylvania, but I also reside here in Manhattan. I help work our government into the introduction of industrial hemp some 19 years ago. And I never thought that I would be here today to speak to you about this important crop. As you may know, it is a $2.5 billion industry in Canada right now. About $600 million of those products come to the United States. I believe that those jobs should be here. And with that, we, all as supporters and advocates, are learning every single day of the immense opportunities that the industrial hemp crop will bring to us. We know what the solutions there might be, and the question is, how do we combine our efforts to build an American hemp industry? I'd like to tell you our stories. I am a founding member of the Coalition for Access Now and the president of the newly formed Pennsylvania Hemp Industry Council. As you might know, the Coalition for Access Now was founded by Paige Figge, the mother of Charlotte Figge of famed Charlotte's Web. The Coalition for Access Now has become the largest advocacy group in the nation representing families that are seeking hemp oil extract for the treatment and therapies that are associated with seizure disorders. Our legislative accomplishments to date: our families have passed CBD legislation in 18 states, yet, as the Congress Assemblywoman said, these bills are inconsistent, and even though there are states with legislation, access is difficult. We have worked hard to introduce a piece of federal legislation, H.R. 1635, the Charlotte's Web Medical Access Act. We have 62 members in the House that are co-sponsors of that. We have also had an amendment that, as the Assemblywoman mentioned, prevents the federal government from using federal funds to pursue those states that have legal access. We do have a Senate bill that's the companion bill to the House. It is S 1333, which is the Therapeutic Hemp Medical Act. In the Senate, we have 19 senators that are supportive. Let me get to those. And we are working with educational programs. We've educated more than 100 members in the House and the Senate, and we have made presentations to the Judicial, Health, Education, Homeland Security, and Government Affairs Committee in the Senate in order to move this forward. But we do have an awful lot of work to do. Lastly, we have tried to get all of this into one bill by giving support to the marijuana banking bill, because it is all for naught if we can give access to people but they can't purchase it. Paige and our families have worked tirelessly in the halls of Congress. We have supporters like the Speaker. We have got senators that are supportive of us, but we are slowly finding that there is much, much more work to be done. As you might see, Senator Gillibrand is one of our supporters, and she has said that she would do absolutely everything she could to make sure that the people of this state, as well as across the nation, have access. She has a separate bill called the CARES Act, which is different than the bills that are in front of us. Our earned media partnerships have been with, Paige has been at the Washington Press Club. Senator Orrin Hatch penned an op-ed for us at the Washington Post, but it also went nationally in support of CBD, hemp oil. Our families have appeared on CNN and certainly have been out in the national media. We have a number of celebrities who have come out to support us. Melissa Etheridge by far is our biggest advocate, and certainly one of the things that has happened that's very important is the work that we have done on NBC, their Dateline, and with Sanjay Gupta. Our industry partnerships, one of our biggest partnerships is here with an organization called Leading Edge Expositions. They are the producers of the Cannabis World Conference and Business Expo. That is at the Javits Center and in the LA Conference Center. That event attracts more than 5,000 people. Our partnership, we are their advocacy partner, and that will allow us to do a number of things. We will be able to promote our mission on the exhibit floor. We will be able to organize industry leaders to come together to talk about hemp. We will be able to have keynotes. We will be able to bring a panel together with sports, people who have been injured either with brain injuries or trauma, who want to discuss their need and desire to have access to hemp oil. And we will also be doing a lifestyle fashion show at the Copacabana, again to show, as you've said earlier, about these wonderful fashions that can be produced from this product, but that same product we want to deliver the message can feed the world, house the world, and heal the world, and that's what we hope to do through these events. However, we have many challenges ahead. Congressional, truncated, because of the presidential campaign, will probably stop most of the legislation moving forward. We also have a Supreme Court nominee, and there's going to be challenges, and I think there's going to be some difficulty in moving any legislation forward in Congress. We have overwhelming support from most of the members. However, the two most important people in Congress, the chairman of both the House and the Senate Judiciary Committee, are non-believers, and we need to figure out a way to get them to come to our side, because without them, our legislation will never move forward. As I said earlier, and as your Assemblywoman has also suggested, there are probably 6 or 7 different pieces of legislation that are in Congress right now. They are all hemp-related, and we as an advocacy group and other groups need to find a way to come together to get one bill, because if we get one bill that allows us to nationally approve industrial hemp, that will start to resolve all the other issues. So as a group, and as people who are advocating for industrial hemp, we also need to figure a way to remove the barriers and the concerns that we have in favor of all, not just a few. And of course, resources. From the Coalition for Access Now's perspective, our expenses are about $30,000 a month. We've had great support from groups like the Stanley Brothers and others who have helped us move this issue forward. We have a lot of private sector support, but certainly this is one of the issues that is troubling to us, because as delays happen, we're not going to be there. So now let me just switch gears and tell you about Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania has a rich heritage in the hemp industry. It has been part of the fabric of our state's economy. As you might know, Benjamin Franklin actively promoted hemp harvesting for clothing, feed, and paper. The 2 drafts of the Declaration of Independence were produced on hemp paper from Pennsylvania, and obviously Betsy Ross's original flag was produced from hemp cloth. More than 100 hemp mills are documented in Lancaster County, and not surprisingly, we have townships and communities that are named after the crop. You would, however, think that that was an important issue for our legislature in Pennsylvania. They didn't make that connection. PA has one of the only museums that is dedicated to promoting the industrial hemp crop, and it was one of our top 4 trades in Pennsylvania. And if you have not seen, these are actually pictures out of the museum. These are hemp stones. May not be a far stretch now that you've seen them. The people who made those stones were referred to as stoners. Those stones are about 1,800 pounds each. And as you might see, there are 2 on the right, and then you can see them laying on their side, but that is how they actually processed hemp along the Susquehanna River and in the mills in Pennsylvania. Hemp in Pennsylvania today. The federal farm bill, same bill, has allowed us to capture the opportunity. Senator Judy Schwenk, like yourself, Assemblywoman, decided that she was going to capture this opportunity and introduce legislation because she understood the agricultural importance. She introduced a bill, SB 50, ironically the same number as they have in Kentucky, and we are now moving very quickly through Pennsylvania, both our agriculture committees, unanimous approval, and we hope that those bills will eventually be going to the House this month. Pennsylvania is the 5th largest importer of Canadian hemp, and I and many of my colleagues, I see that Adam is here today, believe that those jobs should be in our state. Our Hemp Industry Council, we only formed it last September. We have already started to move very quickly. You can see some of the things that we have done. Is that we've created an organization, we've started to drive membership, we've started to participate in farm events. Pennsylvania has the largest national farm show with about 400,000 attendees. We had overwhelming response, particularly from young farmers who were looking for this opportunity. We have already started to advance discussions so that we can get regulations in place so that we can beat New York in planting seeds this spring. And we're already working with those institutions, talking to them about what their opportunities are. Many of them are very unfamiliar with what the federal legislation and our current legislation would allow us to do. We have formed strategic partnerships in Pennsylvania. One of the most important ones is with the Pennsylvania Farmers Union. It is a small organization that represents family farmers, which we think is probably the best way to start an industry in Pennsylvania. Our path forward, we need to make our leadership accountable. They have told us that they will pass this legislation this month. Ironically, the Pennsylvania legislation is not moving forward because of medical marijuana. It is because our legislature doesn't really understand the difference. They think that hemp is the same as medical marijuana, and we're going to do our job to correct that. We've already started to work with the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture to establish the regulatory framework that will allow us to build a hemp program. We have started to look at 1 or 2 counties in Pennsylvania that will become the template for the industrial hemp industry, and then to take that template once it is proven and then start to expand it across the state. And we are trying to find industries, and there are many, some of them on the border of New York and Pennsylvania, that can benefit greatly from the addition of hemp into their manufacturing process. We are going to be working with investors to bring together a production facility, and we then, as I said, will replicate that template across the state. We really are looking to support farmers, processors, and those who are interested in bringing this very vital commodity back to the state of Pennsylvania and to the Commonwealth. And this is just a demonstration that we are giving to our elected leaders to let them know of all the products that can be produced. So, combining our efforts, I've talked to you a little bit about the Coalition for Access now, but also the Pennsylvania Hemp Industry Council. Like all of us who have joined here today, the goal for both of the organizations I'm involved in are that we need to look at aligning all of our issues and find a path to pass industrial legislation nationally. And if we do so, not only will we put a sunset to pilot programs, because many of the state administrators are very concerned that they will have to administer state programs for the next 20 years. They don't want to do that. They can't afford to do that. And then we will remove the interstate barriers, permit the creation of a truly national industry. We will open doors to more investment and more research. We will allow the industry to gain access to services that are already allowed to other commodities and agricultural groups by the federal government. It will free the industry from uncertainty. Nothing will kill this more than people not knowing, but it will also allow access to a full complement of hemp-derived products for the entire nation. So I invite everyone to know hemp, and let's work together.